So the rifles, machine guns, and support weapons built for high-altitude warfare had to be lighter, more reliable in freezing temperatures, and capable of delivering lethal effect when the soldier carrying them was already running on half the oxygen of a lowland fighter. First up, the Karabiner 98K, the backbone of Germany's elite Gebirgsjäger mountain troops. Standard infantry rifle, yes, but in the hands of Alpine-trained soldiers operating in the Caucasus and Norwegian peaks, it was paired with specialized cold-weather lubricants and mountain scopes that turned ridgelines into kill zones. The Gebirgsjäger trusted it because it never quit in the cold. Next up, the Steyr-Mannlicher M 1895, Austria-Hungary's straight-pull bolt-action legend. Born in the Alps and battle-hardened in the Dolomites during WW1's brutal mountain campaigns, its straight-pull action meant a faster cycling rate, critical when your fingers are half numb and the enemy is scrambling up the same ridge. Moving on, the ZBVZ-26 light machine gun, the Czech-designed belt-fed workhorse that found its way into mountain units across Europe. Light enough for a two-man team to carry up a 14,000-foot pass, reliable enough to keep firing when condensation froze on every other piece of kit. Finally, no mountain infantry loadout is complete without the RPK-74 in Soviet and later Russian high-altitude formations. Deployed extensively in Afghanistan's Hindu Kush, where elevation regularly exceeded 10,000 feet. Its 5.45 mm round and lightweight profile made it the go-to squad automatic weapon when every gram of carry weight cost the soldier another breath. Light tanks and armored vehicles. First up, the Type 15, ZTQ-15, light tank, China's purpose-built answer to the Himalayan standoff. Weighing in at just 35 tons, it was engineered specifically for the Tibetan Plateau and the line of actual control. Its turbocharged engine is tuned to operate in oxygen-depleted air, where a standard MBT would gasp and stall, and its 105 mm rifled gun delivers firepower that punches well above its weight class. This is the mountain king of modern plateau warfare. Next up, the PT-76 amphibious light tank, the Soviet solution to mountain river crossings and high-altitude lake obstacles. Deployed in the 1971 Indo-Pakistani War across terrain that would have swallowed heavier armor whole, its amphibious capability and low ground pressure made it the only armored option commanders trusted on soft highland soil. Moving on, the M551 Sheridan, America's airborne light tank, designed for rapid deployment into any terrain, including mountainous theaters. Its aluminum hull kept weight down, and its 152 mm gun launcher could fire both conventional rounds and the Shalala missile, giving mountain-deployed airborne units a genuine anti-armor punch without the logistical nightmare of heavy tank support. Finally, the Weasel AWC, Germany's ultra-light armored weapons carrier, small enough to be sling-loaded by a helicopter into positions no wheeled or tracked vehicle could otherwise reach. Deployed by the Bundeswehr in alpine and high-altitude reconnaissance roles, it proves that in the mountains, being small and fast beats being big and powerful every single time. High-altitude fighter and interceptor aircraft. First up, the Focke-Wulf Ta 152H, Nazi Germany's ultimate high-altitude interceptor. Stretching a longer wingspan over the standard FW190 airframe and fitting it with a Jumo 213E engine, boosted by a GM1 nitrous oxide injection system, the TA-152H could reach 47,000 feet, altitudes where Allied escorts simply couldn't follow. Kurt Tank's masterpiece was the Reich's last desperate answer to high-flying bombers, and in the thin air above the clouds, it was genuinely terrifying. Next up, the English Electric Canberra, Britain's high-altitude jet bomber that doubled as a reconnaissance platform operating above the reach of early Soviet interceptors. Its service ceiling of 48,000 feet made it effectively untouchable for years, and the CIA famously borrowed it for early overflights of denied territory before the U-2 program took over. Moving on, the Lockheed U-2, arguably the most consequential high-altitude aircraft ever built. Cruising at 70,000 feet on impossibly long glider-like wings, it flew so high that pilots wore full pressure suits essentially functioning as proto-spacesuits. Its intelligence haul during the Cold War shaped geopolitical decisions at the highest levels. And when Francis Gary Powers was shot down over the Soviet Union in 1960, it triggered one of the most explosive diplomatic crises of the century. Finally, the Chengdu J-20 in its high-altitude intercept role over the Tibetan Plateau. China's fifth-generation stealth fighter is specifically optimized for operations from high-altitude airbases like Hotan and Shigatse, where thinner air demands more powerful engines and redesigned fuel systems. Paired with the PL-15 long-range air-to-air missile, it is the modern heir to the TA-152's legacy, the Mountain King of the stratosphere. High-altitude helicopters and rotary wing first up. The Aerospatiale SA-315B Llama, the undisputed mountain king of rotary wing aviation. In 1972, it set an absolute helicopter altitude record of 40,820 feet above sea level, a record that still stands today. Built by combining the airframe of the Alouette 2 with the powerful Artust 3B turboshaft engine, the Llama was specifically designed for high-altitude resupply and rescue missions in the Alps and Himalayas. When no other helicopter could even reach the altitude, the Llama was already on its way back down. Next up, the Mil-Me-17, HIP-H. Russia's rugged medium transport helicopter that became the backbone of high-altitude operations in Afghanistan, Kashmir, and the Hindu Kush. Its twin TV-3117 turboshaft engines are specifically tuned for high-altitude performance, and its ability to carry 36 combat-equipped troops into landing zones above 14,000 feet made it irreplaceable in theaters where Western helicopters routinely struggled. Moving on, the TAI/Augusta Westland T-129 ATAC, Turkey's purpose-engineered attack helicopter and one of the most compelling, hot and high performers in any modern military inventory. Its LHT-ECT 800 turboshaft engines deliver full military power at altitudes and temperatures that would force competing platforms to shed weapons loads just to maintain controlled flight. In Turkish mountain operations against PKK positions in the Zagros and Taurus ranges, it proved that attack aviation doesn't have to compromise lethality for altitude. Finally, the Boeing CH-47F Chinook in its high-altitude heavy-lift configuration. During operations in Afghanistan's Kunar and Nuristan provinces, some of the most brutally elevated combat terrain on Earth, the Chinook's twin rotor system proved uniquely resistant to the hot and high performance trap. Single rotor platforms were grounded. The Chinook kept flying, delivering armor, artillery, and troops to positions that redefined what rotary wing logistics could accomplish at the roof of the world. High-altitude artillery and fire support. First up, the OTO Melara Mod 56-pack howitzer, the gold standard of portable mountain artillery. Chambered in 105mm and designed to be broken down into 11 mule loads for transport across terrain that would defeat any wheeled vehicle. It was adopted by over 30 nations and saw combat from the Falklands to the Himalayas. Italian-engineered and battle-proven everywhere mountains exist, it remains the benchmark against which every lightweight howitzer is measured. Next up, the BAE Systems M777 ultra-lightweight howitzer, America's titanium-framed 155mm answer to the weight problem. At just 4,200 pounds, it's half the weight of its predecessor, the M198. Light enough to be sling-loaded beneath a CH-47 Chinook directly into firing positions above 10,000 feet. In Afghanistan's Kunar Valley, M777 crews were dropping precision 155mm rounds onto Taliban positions from firebase altitudes that would have been logistically impossible with any previous generation of heavy artillery. Moving on, the PLC-09 self-propelled howitzer, China's purpose-built plateau artillery system, mounted on a high-mobility wheeled chassis, specifically engineered for Tibet's road network and tuned for operation at extreme altitude. It gives the People's Liberation Army organic 122mm fire support in terrain where tracked self-propelled guns would founder. It is the artillery equivalent of the Type 15. Every design decision made with the Himalayas in mind. Finally, the Soviet Tu-B11 Sani mortar system. Because in the highest and most inaccessible mountain positions, even a pack howitzer is too heavy. The 120mm Sani broke down into backpackable components that mountain infantry could carry above the snow line, delivering indirect fire at ranges exceeding 7,000 meters from positions artillery planners would have dismissed as unreachable. In Afghanistan, Soviet Spetsnaz units used it to dominate ridgelines that no conventional fire support platform could service. High-altitude UAVs and unmanned systems. Just up, the Northrop Grumman RQ-4 Global Hawk, the stratospheric sentinel of modern intelligence gathering. Cruising at 60,000 feet on a 130-foot wingspan, it loiters above mountain ranges for up to 34 hours straight, feeding real-time imagery to commanders thousands of miles away. Over Afghanistan's Hindu Kush and the Karakoram ranges of Pakistan, it rendered the concept of denied terrain effectively obsolete for any military with access to its feed. Next up, the General Atomics MMQ-9 Reaper in its high-altitude mountain strike configuration, operating from air bases like Kandahar and Jalalabad, themselves sitting above 3,000 feet. The Reaper demonstrated that persistent armed overwatch above mountainous insurgent terrain was not just possible but devastatingly effective. Its Hellfire missiles and GBU-12 paveway bombs turned remote ridgeline sanctuaries into kill boxes, and its 50,000-foot service ceiling meant it operated comfortably above weather systems that grounded conventional strike aircraft. Moving on, the CASC Rainbow CH-4, China's MQ-9 equivalent, and its primary armed UAV platform for Tibetan plateau surveillance operations. Deployed from high-altitude airstrips along the line of actual control, it combines a 24-hour endurance with an AR-1 missile payload that gives PLA commanders persistent strike capability across Himalayan terrain, without risking a single aircrew member. It is the unmanned enforcer of China's plateau strategy. Finally, the IAI Heron TP, ITAN, Israel's largest UAV, and one of the most capable high-altitude persistence platforms in any non-superpower inventory. With a service ceiling of 45,000 feet and an endurance exceeding 36 hours, it has been exported to militaries operating in mountainous theaters across Asia and Europe. In an era where mountain warfare increasingly means watching and waiting for the perfect strike window, the Heron TP delivers that window with ruthless consistency. Experimental and prototype mountain warfare systems. First up, the Piasecki H-16 transporter, America's audacious attempt to build a heavy-lift helicopter capable of supplying mountain positions that fixed-wing aircraft couldn't reach and ground vehicles couldn't access. Its tandem rotor configuration, a direct ancestor of the CH-47 Chinook, was specifically designed to maximize lift in low-density air. Cancelled before full production, its core engineering DNA survived and eventually became the backbone of every serious high-altitude heavy-lift helicopter program that followed. Next up, the Soviet Antonov F-40 Krylya Tanka, wings of a tank, arguably the most audacious mountain warfare concept ever seriously pursued. Engineers literally attached glider wings and a tail assembly to a T-60 light tank, intending to tow it aloft behind a bomber and release it to glide onto mountain objectives behind enemy lines. The prototype flew, barely, before the program was cancelled when engineers realized no available Soviet bomber could actually tow a fully armed tank to combat altitude. The concept was insane. The engineering was genuine. Moving on, the Lockheed CL-1201 nuclear-powered transport, America's Cold War answer to the problem of sustained high-altitude logistics over mountain ranges that conventional aircraft couldn't service economically. Designed to cruise at 60,000 feet on nuclear power for weeks at a time, it would have functioned as an airborne forward operating base, dropping supplies and personnel onto Himalayan and alpine objectives without ever landing. Cancelled as arms control agreements made nuclear-powered military aircraft politically impossible, it remains the most extreme logistical solution ever seriously proposed for mountain warfare supply. Finally, the DARPA ARITS, Aerial Reconfigurable Embedded System, the modern heir to every failed flying vehicle concept that came before it. Designed as a modular VTOL platform that could autonomously deliver armored pods, weapons systems, and personnel directly to high-altitude positions unreachable by conventional aviation, ARIS represented the Pentagon's acknowledgement that the mountain logistics problem still hadn't been solved 60 years after the Piasecki H-16 was cancelled. Tested in scaled prototype form before funding priorities shifted, it remains the most credible attempt yet to finally give mountain warfare commanders the autonomous high-altitude delivery system that every generation since World War II has desperately needed. The final word. And there it is. The complete Mountain King arsenal. From the Gebirgsjägerskarabiner 98K on frozen Caucasian ridgelines to China's Type 15 light tank dominating the Tibetan plateau from the Ta-152, H's pressurized cockpit at 47,000 feet to DARPA's autonomous ARIS platform still chasing the dream of frictionless, high-altitude logistics. Every single system on this list exists for one reason and one reason only: Because at 15,000 feet, the standard rules of warfare don't just bend, they break completely. The mountain battlefield is the ultimate equalizer. It doesn't care about doctrine, budget cycles, or how many 5-star reviews your main battle tank received at sea-level trials. It cares about weight, oxygen, temperature, and gradient. The nations and engineers that understood that fundamental truth built machines that conquered the peaks. The ones that ignored it sent 50-ton paperweights up switchback roads and wondered why their air assault helicopters couldn't generate lift. What makes this catalog genuinely remarkable isn't any single platform. It's the through line connecting all of them. The same physics problem that forced Focke-Wulf to redesign the EKW-190's engine for high altitude in 1944 is the same physics problem forcing Chinese engineers to retune the Type 15's power plant for the Tibetan Plateau today. 80 years of military technology separating those two machines, and the enemy is identical. Thin air, brutal cold, and terrain that punishes every gram of unnecessary weight without mercy. The mountain kings that earned their title didn't win by being the biggest, the heaviest, or the most powerful in absolute terms. They won by being the most capable within the unforgiving constraints that altitude imposes on every system, every soldier, and every logistics chain that dares operate above the tree line. That is the lesson the mountains have been teaching every army that has ever tried to fight in them. And the ones paying attention built the weapons on this list. If you made it to the end of this one, you already know this channel doesn't do surface level. We go deep on the hardware, the history, and the engineering decisions that actually shaped battlefields. So if that's your thing, hit subscribe, drop a comment on which Mountain King surprised you most, and we'll see you in the next one.